Good camera, good lightings. This is what makes a successful video. So what are we talking about today? Today we will be discussing about how to use the three-tier protection to help you find the right project in this market. And we are not only talking about new launches, but we are also using this three-tier protection checklist to better help you understand the choices that you make in this Singapore property market. So this will be a short video. I want to give you as much value as possible in this short video so that you have the best takeaway. And at the end, there will also be a checklist that you can download. So look at this checklist here that we have been using for all these years. This is what we call the three-tier protection checklist. And if you stay with me right now, these are the three important criteria for choosing the right project in the right location, precinct, and subsequently, once you choose the right precinct, choose the right project in the precinct and following by the peers, the neighbors, the right unit within this precinct. So there would be total of 11 checklists, 11 critical points that you want to take note. But I will go through with you one by one, step by step, so that you have a clear understanding how you can use this checklist for your property selection. So why do we need to use this three-tier protection? This system is very important because we all do know that property is a huge decision in our life, whether it is for investment or own stay. And how do we know that we are not overpaying for any property? Once we have a checklist and the system, it becomes very rational and decisive that we go according to the points that are being highlighted. So it can help us, including I myself, use this checklist to manage my own emotions when it comes to property selection. And how do we, including I myself and all my clients, protect ourselves against charismatic, charming, aggressive salesperson when we walk into a show flat or maybe even arrange for a viewing? Everything all seems so well, so fine. However, if we do not have a checklist to identify this is the right location for us, and is this the right project in the right location, following by the right unit, all these steps, if we do not have a proper checklist in order, it can cause us huge mistake. So first we talk about the precinct, which is the location check. We want to understand the location that we choose, whether these are mainly owner occupied or is there a high level of tenancy turnover. Are there families mostly staying in this location, whether usually that would more towards the core central region or the RCR region? And as for OCR, if you are buying for investment, are there a strong supply of tenant pool? And whether these tenants are long-term tenants? And also residents, do they have high turnover like every 4 years, 5 years? They change ownership. The upgrading flow of the district is important. And secondly, why people stay here? Is it because of the convenience of the school transport or daily accessibility? Or is it just an area that has been suddenly hyped up with promises of the future that is not in sync with the existing demand in the neighboring precinct? And finally, a liquidity proof. What are the healthy transactions that's been happening in this precinct or maybe even neighboring precincts that we are looking at? And we do not want to look at just the best years, especially COVID transaction has been happening, but we also look at the period before the COVID and have a historical measurement of how this consistency of demand has been happening on a year-to-year average. So with that, once you have choose your ideal location, we want to look at the projects in this location. One thing that you can check on the BCA website is to check for the developer's credibility. There is a contrast band rating that you can check, key in the developer name, and it will pop up on the developer's credibility and rating for any development. So why is this important? Because if you are buying a new launch, you do not only want to be mesmerized by how well done the show flat is. You want to also know their previous track record and whether BCA recognize them as a grade A or band A developer. This you can check on your own BCA website to find out the rating. And once we understand the developer rating, that is not it. We also want to understand more about whether this project is this cheaper or fairer in terms of the price to similar projects nearby. And when we talk about similar projects, we want to compare a similar A to A, which could be a mid-scale development to a mid-scale development. And it is not very fair to be comparing a mega development versus a small one or vice versa. And if you also want to buy a new one, you want to understand the gap. What is the gap? The resale gap between the new ones that is currently launched right now and the resale that is transacted. Because if, for example, a resale that is just newly TOP'd only 1 or 2 years, and you look at the gap of the new launch that's upcoming and is significant, it is not fair to put a number to it saying that the new prices and the resale gap is narrow. Because for resale that are newer, it is common to be narrow. As you envision this project, when a new one, for example, launched this year, 2026, and the TOP is 2030, which the other project neighboring could only be 2 years old, and 4 years later, it could be 6 years old. And a 6 years old development versus a brand new development, if the workmanship and quality is well maintained, it makes sense if the gap is very wide for people to still choose the resale development. So having said that, there are critical criteria for you to look at, not only the track record, but also neighboring future plots. If there are other future plots that's possibly going to sell at a higher price, it's going to help you protect your existing price. That could be one strong key factor for consideration. And also the replacement cost. If let's say this project, once again, reaches its TOP and it wants us to reach the resale market, are there existing resale development in the neighboring district, probably in a neighboring better district, which is more prime location, already selling at a higher per square foot, higher quantum to help you project your exit cost? And also any development that you want to buy when you are putting out in the resale market, you want to understand its unique selling point. For example, a project that is a small scale development which hardly people search online versus a mega one which everybody talks about when they are in that area, it can make a big difference to your resale visibility in the future. So my name is Paul. Our slogan and principle is always putting you, people above property always, and serving clients since 2008 with a system and structured approach to help you buy what is safe in this market with protection and to exit with potential in the future. So coming back here, the final part would be even if you choose the right precinct and the right project, the right unit in the project can also make a huge difference. And many people think about whether it is the stack or orientation, whether the future view is going to be unblocked or not, floor plan today, whether they are harmonized or pre-harmonized, and whether buying the cheapest unit in the development, does it really make sense? Of course, we also talk about layout efficiency and price jump justification. The simple rule of thumb is this: with too many factors, sometimes it can cloud our decision. It makes us overly cautious not to be able to recognize what is safe. So a simple rule of thumb for anyone viewing in is this: as long as it makes sense, it passes our checklist, will the next buyer simply say yes without us needing to justify and explain too much? And with exercise of common sense, my dear friends, although we have a checklist, but our internal compass and common sense still have to make sense. So for example, 4 years ago when I was sharing with my clients this development, some were looking at a higher floor with slightly better view at 1,007 per square foot, whereas the ground floor, some people rejected is, oh no, I don't want to stay ground floor, etc., etc. So many reasons. So thinking that ground floor is not good, higher floor is better. But we also want to look at the price difference in terms of quantum and per square foot. So if you look at what happened 4 years ago, no, it's actually more than 200. It's close to 300 PSF difference. So what happened is today, what has been transacted, the higher floor actually sold at a loss in this development. And whereas the ground floor unit still haven't sold, still has a strong paper valuation of 1,006, which then already grew a protection of 200 per square foot, my dear friends. So let's avoid this costly mistake when you have a proper checklist that has been tested and used by hundreds of clients. If you can have this proper checklist itself, it can help you save a lot of potential mistake that you might foresee. So with that, of course, I would encourage you to go through a one-on-one Zoom with me so that I can go through the checklist with you so that you can use this checklist with clarity on your next property selection. With that, I look forward to see you in person or over Zoom, and I appreciate your time in watching this video. And I hope there's good takeaway from watching this 10 minutes video, and I see you soon.